Have you ever noticed how horror doesn't just come out? It arrives like a date on a calendar you can't tear off fast enough. Some nights the genre doesn't knock, it just shows up. Chainsaw revving, coffin creaking, neon cross glowing in the rain. This week we've got a perfect little sampler of the horror spectrum. A haunted house party where the real gimmick is human greed. A medieval deadite war that plays like a splatter fantasy fever dream. A rock star vampire era that's pure early 2000s goth adrenaline. And a plastic toy factory nightmare that turns childhood nostalgia into teeth. So, if you've ever wondered why February always feels a little cursed, congrats, you're right. Let's crack open this week and see what crawls out. Welcome to This Week in Horror History. I'm your host, Enrique Couto. This is the show where we time travel by release date and celebrate the genre's best and sometimes weirdest anniversaries. This is our week in horror history for February 16th through 22nd. This week we have a haunted house party that weaponizes money, a chainsaw-handed hero getting dropped into the Middle Ages, a vampire rock star waking an ancient queen, and a bright plastic nightmare where childhood smiles hide teeth. And when we come back from the break, our deep-cut spotlight is going all the way back to 1932 for one of the most infamous studio horror films ever released. February 17th, 1959, House on Haunted Hill hits United States theaters. William Castle and Vincent Price basically bottle the entire haunted attraction experience and sell it as a movie ticket. 5 strangers, 1 mansion, $10,000 if you can make it through the night. With inflation, by the way, that would be roughly $111,000 in today's money. And the genius part, it isn't just about ghosts. It's the psychology, the way money makes people brave, reckless, paranoid, and cruel. I just revisited this one because Joe Bob Briggs showed it on the last drive-in over on Shudder a week or two ago, and it still holds up. It's got great performances, excellent atmosphere, and a few scares that they'll get you if you let them. As far as where to watch this classic film, well, it's basically everywhere due to being public domain, so you can find it on Tubi TV, the Roku channel, anywhere you watch movies free with ads, YouTube, or you can rent it on Amazon Prime Video, Fandango at Home, or Apple TV. It's worth a visit because there will be food and drink and ghosts, and perhaps even a few murders. You're all invited. February 18th, 2026. That's right, going a little ways into the future depending on when you listen to this. Poppy Playtime Chapter 5 drops on PC. If you like your horror with puzzle box tension and toy factory dread, well, this one is for you. Poppy Playtime's 5th chapter pushes deeper into Playtime Co.'s nightmare machinery. More shadows, more chases, more don't look behind you moments as the mystery tightens around the prototype. It's a very modern kind of horror history, a franchise that grew online, evolved chapter by chapter, and turned a children's mascot into a full-on boogeyman. The game can be found on Steam or just about anywhere you buy digital games on PC, with consoles coming later. February 19th, 1993, Army of Darkness storms into theaters. The third Evil Dead film goes full splatter fantasy, Ash gets flung back to 1300 AD, straps a chainsaw back to his arm, and accidentally turns the Necronomicon into a medieval weapon of mass destruction. It's not so much a cabin-in-the-woods terror-filled film as it is Looney Tunes meets, well, Jason and the Argonauts. Honestly, if you've never seen it, I would be shocked. The deadites are still nasty, and the Sam Raimi camera is still possessed. If you've ever wondered why people quote this film like it's scripture, it's because Raimi and Bruce Campbell found that sweet spot, a hero who's both the badass and the punchline. And this was a film that was massive when I was growing up because, unlike Evil Dead 1 and 2, Army of Darkness could play on USA on a Saturday morning or a Sunday afternoon without causing a lot of angry letters to be written, so it played ad nauseum. I actually saw Army of Darkness before I saw the other Evil Dead films because it was so proliferated on television. As far as box office goes, it didn't really set the world on fire. It made about $21.5 million worldwide on an $11 million budget, but it did become a long-term cult win. A lot of people think it's probably because of Universal Studios' brilliant decision to not include the title Evil Dead, the title from the super successful other two films, in the title of this one. I guess they were ashamed to be involved, but, well, that shame cost them a lot of money. As far as where to watch Army of Darkness, if you haven't seen it in a while, it is worth a revisit, and I can't imagine you've never seen it at all, but stranger things have happened. You can find it rentable or for purchase on Amazon Prime Video, Apple TV, and Fandango at home. February 22nd, 2002, Queen of the Damned arrives. You can almost hear the early 2000s soundtrack start the second this movie boots up. Lestat goes rockstar, the Vampire Underground panics, and Akasha wakes up ready to rewrite the entire rule set. It was panned at release and never quite found its footing as an adaptation, but as a product of its time, it can't be beat. It's basically a time capsule of that goth MTV era, and Aaliyah's presence is the gravitational center. The film plays like the genre colliding with music video aesthetics, slick, loud, and drenched in attitude. Even if it isn't the book, it's still kind of a vibe in and of itself. As far as the box office goes, $45 million worldwide on a $35 million budget, so it was a commercial disappointment, but it's found a lot of audience ever since, and I do think it's worth watching. It's been a while since I revisited it, but I remember not loving it when I was younger and then really appreciating it in the last 10 years or so. You can rent or buy it on Amazon Prime Video, Apple TV, and Fandango at home. Tomorrow, right here on the weekly spooky feed, we're cracking open Road Trip from the case files of Caroline Quinn. Caroline's not running from a monster. She's running from herself, heartbreak, guilt, and the one sentence she couldn't say out loud. She points the car west, chases bad weather and bad decisions, and ends up in a nowhere Michigan town with one bar, one traffic light, and a whole lot of eyes that don't feel human. She wanted to disappear, but something else wants to keep her. Check that out tomorrow right here on the weekly spooky feed, and enjoy a scary story to get through your hump day. All right, we're gonna take a quick breather here, spookies, and when we come back, we're going deep cut, all the way to February 20th, 1932. A studio horror film so controversial, it basically got pushed into the margins for decades. You won't want to miss it when we come back. Okay, my spookies, we are back. And for our deep cut spotlight, we're heading to February 20th, 1932, when Todd Browning's Freaks hits theaters and changes horror history forever. Todd Browning's Freaks isn't just a pre-code horror film, it's a studio-era nightmare that feels like it shouldn't exist. MGM, of all places, putting a spotlight on a sideshow world and building a story around betrayal, exploitation, and revenge. Here's what makes Freaks still click with audiences today, even with all the context and discomfort that comes with the 1932 production. It's relatively short, sharp, and mean. It wastes no time letting you know who is using whom. The horror is not just the freaks. The horror is the so-called normal people who see human beings as paychecks. And then, when the movie flips, it flips hard. Now, on paper, it didn't win in 1932. Freaks ran straight into moral panic and pressure campaigns, and the industry was already sliding toward stricter control that would soon become what was known as the production code era. Basically a type of censorship for feature films, especially in the major studio system. This film was described very often as a shocker that the mainstream was simply not ready for. Directed by the man who brought the world Bela Lugosi's Dracula. The guy had serious studio panache behind him and a fat box office to go with it. But unfortunately, that did not translate to Freaks. Financially, it's nearly a stalemate. The reported budget was around $310,000, with a gross of around $341,000. Not a triumph, but not a crater either. Just enough to maybe survive. And in 1932, $310,000 was the equivalent of $7.33 million in today's money. But the film had no problem haunting the margins until the cult reputation it gained did what the original release couldn't. And that is the real horror history lesson here. Sometimes the genre's most influential titles don't arrive as hits. They arrive as problems. They arrive as controversies, and then years later we're still talking about them, which is wild to think with a film that's nearly 100 years old. As far as where to watch it, you can rent it at all the usual suspects like YouTube, Amazon Prime Video, Fandango at Home, Apple TV, etc. And I do really recommend you check out Todd Browning's Freaks. It will leave an impression on you. Now let's light some creepy candles for our birthdays. On February 16th, 1930, Raquel Browning was born. The underwater Gillman performer in the legendary Creature from the Black Lagoon, plus a key figure in basically all the underwater cinematic moments you've come to know and love from that era. Happy birthday to Raquel Browning. February 16th, 1964, Christopher Eccleston is born. He brought the Raw Dread to 28 Days Later and Haunted House Chill to the others, and a whole lot of other great genre work besides those two, which is saying something because those two are pretty big heavy hitters. So we want to wish a very happy birthday to Christopher Eccleston. February 22nd, 1969, Thomas Jane is born. Fog-shrouded terror in the mist, shark chaos in deep blue sea. The guy's got a long streak of genre grit, and he's still making memorable films to this very day. Happy birthday, Thomas Jane. And born on February 22nd, 1975, Drew Barrymore. In many ways, horror's forever kid, with Firestarter and Poison Ivy, just to name a few, and then, of course, her shocking role as the first victim in the original Scream by Wes Craven. Happy birthday, Drew Barrymore. We'll make sure when we light the candles we try and use our minds first. For our then and now this week, then in the early 1930s, a studio horror film could be made, released, and then socially quarantined by outrage and censorship pressure. Now, controversy travels faster than ever, and so does rediscovery. A movie can be buried on Friday and become a cult phenomenon by Monday, thanks in part to streaming, social media, and the horror community's favorite pastime, which is, of course, rescuing and appreciating weird stuff. As much as I miss the movie rental store, this really is a golden era for watching lost gems and sharing them with the world. And for our weekly recommendation, if you want something that lands dead center in this week's time frame and feels like an open road turning into a nightmare, I cannot recommend enough this film, released on February 22nd, 1986, The Hitcher. Rutger Hauer plays a walking void of menace, and the film keeps tightening its grip until it feels like the highway itself is hunting you. It wasn't a box office winner at the time, about $5.8 million in gross on a reported $7.9 million budget, but it's been reappraised as a full-on cult classic, and it totally earns that status. It is a wild and wacky ride, but it's also scary, it's also unsettling, and Rutger Hauer is great in literally anything you put him in. But when you add C. Thomas Howell to the film as the protagonist, well, you are in for, pardon the pun, a very fun ride. A film that manages to keep you on the edge of your seat while also weirding you out and confusing you a little along the way. There's nothing quite like The Hitcher, in my opinion, and I love the hell out of it. As far as where to watch it, if you've never seen it, you need to make this a priority, and if you've already seen it, well, the revisit is a good idea. It's currently streaming with a Cinemax subscription on multiple channels like Hulu and Amazon Prime, or of course, you can buy or rent it digitally on Amazon Prime, Fandango at Home, or Apple TV. You can also grab phenomenal physical media releases which took a very long time to come, and I'm so glad to have mine on my shelf. Well, my spookies, that's your week, February 16th through 22nd, packed with haunted house hustle, demon noir, medieval deadites, and vampire rock opera, just to spice things up. If you're listening on Tuesday, the day this comes out, tomorrow, make sure you come back for Weekly Spooky's brand new story, all about a road trip that goes horribly wrong, and a vampire hunter just trying to get by. And on Friday, well, there'll be a little surprise waiting for you. So make sure you check it out. And of course, next Monday, we'll have a brand new episode of Monthly Spooky, where we talk about all the strange news and funny moments on the scarier side of life. Until next time, keep your lights low, your doors locked, and remember, our days are numbered, because that's how we tell them apart.